We're taxed to death, ladies and gentlemen. We are absolutely taxed to death. She was the first one to get kicked off the stage. If you're a person that disagrees with me, you're probably a person that thinks Donald Trump is a mean man. He's disgusting. So we had our first debate between President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. And it was an odd one. I'll be 100% honest. It was odd at the least. And the biggest thing I think that, and I'll say this too, I went to bed a little distraught. Just because this is a very serious, this could set our country into a tailspin, which to me it already is. To a lot of people, they just have their heads in the sand. So that's the real concerning part to me, is that we have a voting class of people, and I can't really say it's a certain age group, because I see, with Turning Point USA, got a lot of young people, college age, that are standing up for God, standing up for our foundations of our country. So I can't really say it's a certain age group. I see older people that they just vote Democrat because that's what they've always done. They don't even know about politics. They just go and they vote, and it's it. It's over. And that's sad. And then we have the Christians. And I'm going to repeat some of the things that, I don't know if you all watch him or not, but Officer Tatum. If you haven't watched Officer Tatum before, please go out there, subscribe to his channel. He's a great man. He doesn't mince words. He straight up tells you exactly what you need to hear. He's emotional, like some of us are. And I like that. I like the part where, I guess I shouldn't say emotional, I should say charismatic. And he said some things that resonated with me. And I watched a couple different streams yesterday. I actually watched his stream watching the debate, so I like to see his live reactions of what he thought, and we agreed on most things that were happening. But with the debate, the Christians are really the voting class that really sway a presidency. And we've become such a distraction now, because some 80%, I think it's 80% of the United States population now says that they are Christians. So it should be pretty easy to win an election if one side says they're for killing babies and one side is against it. So, but a lot of people I hear, after the debate was over, I was looking around at other streams that were going on, and there was another reaction video afterwards from Pastor Mark Driscoll. And I like to go through the comments. There's live comments, there's live chat just like mine. When I have live streams, there's live chat and people are chatting. And there were a lot of people in there saying that they're not going to vote because Kamala Harris doesn't have any policies and Donald Trump is mean. And ladies and gentlemen, you're not choosing a pastor for your church. You're choosing the President of the United States. Would you rather someone weak-handed, limp-wristed, let me shake your hand when you go to Russia or when you go to all these other places? Do you want a limp-wristed president going and meeting these people? The kind of guy that shakes a hand and doesn't squeeze. When you shake a hand, right? But now we see this. We saw in the debate last night this. Harris was trying to pull heartstrings on everything, and really make Donald Trump out to be this villain. And this is the rhetoric that they've been pushing for years. Since he was out of the presidency. So for the last 3.5 years, this is pretty much what they've been pushing, is this propaganda that he's this villain trying to shut the country down. And the only thing is that all she did was run on emotions of this sadness and they were all lies. I really hope that anyone that watches this video goes out and the talking points that they were talking about in the debate last night, I really truly hope that you go out there and fact check that stuff. They didn't fact check crap. They didn't fact check anything. They fact checked Donald Trump, but they didn't fact check Kamala Harris at all. Not once did they fact check her. And she lied. She lied right out of the gate. She started talking about Project 2025. Multiple times Donald Trump has said he has absolutely nothing to do with that. And he has nothing to do with it. Someone else wrote it, a whole nother group. He's never even read it. He says he will never read it. He doesn't want to read it. So, lie. They didn't fact check it. They didn't say anything. Then she brought up Charlottesville. That was debunked. ABC debunked it. And she brought it up. But here's what lies the problem. I can sit here and list all the lies. I'll go through a couple other ones here as I'm talking. But the problem with the lies that come out in this, ladies and gentlemen, is that once the lie is out there, you can't take it away. It's like an arrow. If I'm on a castle and I'm shooting an arrow into the crowd of people, and the crowd of people being the voters, so picture that in your mind. The crowd of voters outside the castle, White House, and shooting arrows into the crowd. You can't take that arrow back once you shot it. So she shoots these arrows of lies, and you can't take them back. So those people that aren't like me, or maybe you, that aren't fact-checking or researching anything, they take that because they like her, because she's nice and Donald Trump is mean. They do that, and then they just take it into their mind, and it's a fact. So you've now weaponized the debate. That's what you've done. You've weaponized the debate. You've weaponized it for lying when you said distinctly that you were going to fact check it. When you didn't fact check anything. Didn't fact check not one thing that she said. So, what was the point of even bringing that up? That's where when RFK, Robert Kennedy Jr., when he brings up the weaponization of media, this is what he's talking about. He's talking about these things because it's true. It's true. Because they are taking journalism, the way journalism works is you take both sides of the story and you just bring it to the American people and you let them decide. But when things are biased, when you have things like opinions, when you're a journalist, you can't have an opinion. You take a fact, you take someone's input, you take another one's input, and you present the two inputs to an output. That's it. No filter, no opinion. This is what you do. And you hand it to the American people. But you saw one instance of that last night where David Muir said, he was talking about the sarcasm because Trump said, "I lost by a whisker." It was sarcasm. And that's what he said. Yes, I said it. It was in sarcasm. I can say things in jest. And David Muir, instead of just taking that and letting the American people do something with that, he said this: "I didn't sense any sarcasm in that." And he moved on. You can't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not journalism. This is a lead anchor for the world news. So what does the world get to see? How do we get to see the world? If someone has an opinion. I have an opinion, you have an opinion. So if we continue to have opinions thrown at us, what happens when you watch that television show all the time? You're then influenced. Then you have an influence. That's the problem that we have today. That's the weaponization of media. So you take it, and they showed the statistics. 100% positive ads for Kamala Harris. 96% negative ads for Donald Trump. Is that journalism, ladies and gentlemen? I don't care what side you're on. I don't care if you're a Harris person watching my video. I don't care if you're a Donald Trump person watching my video. If you got 100% positive on one and 96% of negative on the other, what's going to happen? You influence all the people that watch your show. And why is that? What is the reasoning behind it? Think of the origin of this, everyone. The CEO of ABC is very good friends with the Harris family. That's how Kamala Harris met her husband, was through the CEO of ABC. We need you all to wake up. We need people to think on their own. We need intelligent, competent voters. We need people that understand. We are praying that God had mercy on this country. Because guess what? Donald Trump may lose. And Donald Trump may lose all of this. This just might be over. So with that, what's that mean? That means this country is crashing. We're already in a tailspin. So all the things that have been going on in 3.5 years, inflation at 21%, food prices going through the roof, Gas at $4, $5, $6, $7 a gallon, depending on what state you live in. Home prices. No one can even buy a home right now because they can't get a loan. Interest rates are through the roof. Jobs are, people are cutting jobs all over. They're just taking jobs to other countries. The company I worked for sent most of the jobs that they cut in the same day. They hired all new people in India in the same day. So these are the problems this is the reality. This is the reality that we need to take in and sit in it for a little while. Because if you think that Kamala Harris is going to miraculously change her ways, which she's literally flip-flopped everything she ever said, and she's changed it ever since she was appointed. The coup of Joe Biden. He's on the beach. I don't even know who the president is right now. He's not in the White House. So everything that she said pre-mystery nomination, I feel sorry for all of you Democrats out there. All you Democrats that just vote for Democrats just because you voted for a Democrat your whole life. I feel sorry for you because you didn't even get to vote her in. Because when you did get a chance to vote her in the primaries, no one voted for her. She was the first one to get kicked off the stage in the Democrat primaries. She called Joe Biden a lot of things on that primary, by the way. And here we are. So that's where we're at. And I just pray that each one of you fact check all the things that were said last night. Fact check the one on Springfield, Ohio. 20,000 Haitians were put in Kamala Harris. It has actual video of her talking about sending those migrants to Ohio. I just did a video on it. You can go back and watch it. I'll put it up here for you to click. So go back, click on it, watch it. Last night, they fact-checked it, and David Muir said that the mayor said that wasn't happening. There's video of city council meetings with citizens telling them that the migrants are going into the holding ponds, grabbing the geese, chopping their heads off, and carrying them down the street to cook them. There's no police reports. There's no city complaints. Who's going to complain? There's no paperwork. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's like saying, well, if a tree falls in the forest and no one was there to hear it, does it make a sound? That's silly, everyone. That is silly. So let's do better. Let's do better. See in the back of the car now, I've got a bunch of, I cut up a bunch of foam mattress. I'm going to use it for soundproofing. So I had to cut it up into pieces. Sorry to go away from our talk there for a second. If you're wondering what's in the back, that's what it is. I cut it up into pieces. I'm going to cut it up into even smaller pieces, and then I'm going to cover it. Or I'm not sure if I'm going to cover it or paint it yet. There's some foam. There's some spray paint that I can get for foam, and I'm going to try maybe coloring it, or I might cover it. I'm not sure yet. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what that's there back there for. So I got to thinking and more about this, and today now than it was before, but I wanted to add a little bit more to this after talking to my dad for a little while about what's going on in these debates, and we got about, I think we have 55 days left until the election, and the lying hasn't stopped. The lying from the media hasn't stopped. As I said earlier, that 100% positive media coverage for Harris and 93% or 96%, whatever it is, I think it's 93, is negative for Donald Trump. So does that sound free and fair, everyone? If this was flip-flop the other direction, let's think about that. Let's talk to all of you that might not agree with me, okay? Because not all of you are going to agree with me, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But let's have a dialogue for a minute. What if this was reversed? And 100% of the commercials or media coverage was all towards Donald Trump, and 93% of them were negative for Kamala Harris. How would you feel? How would you feel about that? Would that make you feel good? Would that make you feel bad? How would that make you feel? So that's my question to you. If we flip-flopped it the other way, why can't it be free and fair? But if you watch a biased news station that only gives you the good stuff about one candidate and only bad stuff about the other one, then how can you make an informed decision? I don't think you can. I mean, because it's working. Because if you're a person that disagrees with me, you're probably a person that thinks Donald Trump is a mean man. He's disgusting. He says mean things. What other things can you think of? Oh, he had sex with a porn star. There's all these things that people come up with. But let's talk about Kamala Harris for a second. Where did she come from? She's a district attorney in the state of California. She has really never done anything of substance in her lifetime. She is probably the worst vice president ever. So people keep forgetting that the last 4 years in our country has been the worst in the last 2 decades. Even they say it's since the 1940s. So how can you take someone and act like she wasn't part of the problem? She has just a recent video that says that she's never even been to Europe. But in the debate last night, she said, I've traveled the world. But you've never been to Europe? That's interesting. Why? Why have you never been to Europe? So she said a lot of things that we really shouldn't be using as ammunition, because they're lies or half-truths. It's still the truth. Whether they fact-checked it on this or that, they didn't fact-check Kamala on the Project 2025. They should have immediately said that wasn't true. Immediately. Those anchors should have immediately said, I'm sorry, Ms. Harris, Project 2025 has been proven that Donald Trump has nothing to do with it. So, but they didn't. But as soon as we bring up the news article about the previous Virginia governor, the Virginia governor said that, but they didn't say, because that's what Donald Trump says, is the Virginia governor said it's okay to do that. But they came back and said, Mr. Trump, that is not true, that law is in existence. That's not what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said that the governor said that it is okay to kill a baby in the 9th month. Period. But they took it a step further, and they made it into law. It's just like the little quip about, winning by a whisker or losing by a whisker. Looking at the debate last night, I think it didn't really help. I don't think it really helped undecided voters. I think a lot of it was kind of regurgitated. She still didn't talk about policies. She did talk about she was going to give $50,000 to people with a new... Do you know what giving all that money is going to do, everyone? Do you really, truly know what that's going to do? If you got excited when she said, oh, we're going to give you $50,000 towards a new home, do you know what that's going to do? That's going to raise the house prices $50,000. So he didn't do anything. Zero. And then she said that she's going to give $6,000 per child of this and that. Every time you get money, anytime you get money, now there's things that you can do, and she tried to make something into some sales tax or something, and he said over and over again that it's tariffs. Tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. That's what they are, tariffs. If you don't know what a tariff is, go look it up. But what the tariffs do is it holds off other countries from putting too much into our economy. That way, our economy and our workers can create those same things. Because if, say, our country is making something for $1, say it's a little toy, and we're making this thing for $1, and China starts making it for 20 cents. What do you think the American people is going to buy? They're going to buy the thing for 20 cents because guess what? The Chinese don't have regulations like we have that they don't have minimum wage or anything like that. There's no minimum age to working. They can just work because it's a communist country. So they can make things for a little of nothing for a fraction of the cost. So what happens is we start taking those goods into our country at 20 cents, and then those different manufacturing jobs of that dollar toy no longer have a job because no one wants to buy the dollar toy anymore. They want to buy the 20-cent toy because that's how people are. It's just the reality of it. You got cheapskate Karen. She's going to go from place to place until she finds the 20-cent toy instead of the dollar toy. And then the people that make the dollar toy no longer have a job. So you can scale that up however you want. You can scale it up into, cars or whatever. And that's what we're talking about. That's what he's talking about. If China is coming over to Mexico and they're building car manufacturing plants in Mexico because it's cheap, because there's no regulation, there's no minimum age of work, there's no cost of work regulations. You can pay somebody $1.50 an hour. They're cutting out the transfer from China, making it in Mexico. Then all they have to do is drive the vehicle into the United States and sell it. Well, the tariff keeps that from happening, and you add the cost of the tariff to the car. Our country makes the money. We make the money on the tariff. Then that car is near the same price as the car that we make here in the United States. It could be cheaper, maybe. It could be about the same, or it could be more. So now a person's going to look at that car and go, I don't want to buy that Chinese car because that Chinese car is a little bit more expensive than an American car. So I would rather buy the American car because it's a little bit cheaper and it's made here in the United States. But if you do decide and say, I really love this Chinese car or Japanese car or whatever it may be, you can buy it. You're going to pay a little more, and then the federal government makes the money on the tariff from the manufacturer of that Chinese car. So that's what he's trying to do, and that's how we can work back our debt. The national debt is out of control. So that's the only way that we can make back that debt, is if the country has a way to do that. And that's how we would do it, is making it off of other countries instead of making that money off of the American people. We're taxed to death, ladies and gentlemen. We are absolutely taxed to death. The government makes taxes. If I sold my car that I have right now, when I buy the car brand new, I pay sales tax. Then if I sell that car to another person in a couple years, guess what? They pay sales tax. And if that person only wants to use the car for a couple more years and they sell it to someone else, guess what? That person makes sales tax. And sales tax, and sales tax. Every time something is sold from one person to another, the government makes a tax. We've got to stop this. We've got to stop this. This is the reason for the Tea Party. Go back, read your history. What's the Tea Party about, everyone? What's the Tea Party about? The Tea Party is about how they were overtaxed. They were taxed to death. And they said, I am sick and tired of it. That was back in the day when a tax collector came to your house, knocked on your door, and asked you for taxes. But here's what happened. The tax collectors would do mafia style, and what they would do is they would say, go ahead and add an extra 20% on there, or I'm going to tell them that you didn't pay your taxes. So they started robbing the people. This is all the way back in biblical times, everybody. This dates back forever. So what did the most modern government start to do? What did they do? They said, well, we're not going to come to your door anymore and take your taxes, because every time we do that, you have something in your mind that says, oh my gosh, I'm having to take this money, and now I see this money is already in my hand. I made this money, and someone coming to my door, and they're taking that money from me. That's what's happening, right? So they changed it, and he said, let's just stop doing that, and let's just go ahead and just take it out of their paycheck before they ever get it. And then, in their mind, it's not so bad. So what happens is instead of the water getting turned up really bad, really hot, really fast, the frog jumps out, right? But they didn't do it like that. They were like, oh, we won't come to their house anymore. We'll just take it out of their check. And if they don't want to, if they don't pay it, then we'll put them in prison. And that's what happens to us. If we don't pay our taxes, where do we go? We go to jail. And now they're taxing us 30, 40. Some states, I think the state of New York says they're getting paid upwards of 50% of their wages. Same in California. Who would want to live there? Half of what you make, if you make $20 an hour, $10 an hour of it is in tax. So, heck yes, it's going to be upsetting if you only make $20 an hour, because you're only bringing home 10. If you make $40 an hour, which $40 an hour, that's a pretty good job, right? They say, oh, I'm making $40 an hour. Hey, that's pretty good. In the state of California, 50%, you're only making $20 an hour now. And most people are saying that $20 an hour isn't even a livable wage. Well, that's what your government has created for you. So now what? Now what? It's awful. But that's what we've all let happen. We've let the government turn the heat up a little bit more, turn up a little bit more taxes, and that's what the Democratic Party has turned into. The party of tax. Tax, tax, tax. Tax everything. That's where all of it came from. And that's why Republicans always push for lowering taxes to companies. Because if the companies aren't getting taxed, then they get more jobs. Then more people get more money. And the Democrats keep fighting all those things. That's why President Trump wanted to cut tax to tips. Because most of those people only make, $2.13 an hour plus tips. Then the Democrats created a whole task force to go out and fine people that weren't paying their taxes on tips. But President Trump said, let's not do that. Let's just get rid of taxes on tips altogether so those people can live a livable wage. Then what happened? Kamala Harris came out and said, no taxes on tips. Then it was a great idea. Trump's been saying it for a year. What about insurance for IVF? President Trump's all for it. He said with Tulsi Gabbard in Hawaii. Actually, she's the governor of Hawaii, but I think they were in Wisconsin at the time. He said, he's going to force insurance to cover IVF because it doesn't now. So he's going to force that. And also the government, the Obamacare, is going to have to pay for IVF as well. So he's pushing for that as well. But they didn't talk about that in the debate. It was all about the abortion and tried to tackle him on IVF, which they lied. I want you all to do your research. This country is an amazing country with an amazing constitution and an amazing freedoms. Please don't ruin it. Please do what's right for our country. Stop talking about things that are not important to the federal government and let the states deal with some of those. I won't say who won or lost the debate because it doesn't really matter. What matters is that all of you do what you should do to make an intelligent decision on voting for the next president of the United States. I hope that you would do better in the interview process to lead your household, to lead your business. Do better. God bless. Have a great day.